Beauty Professor, and you can find my beauty blog at www.beautyprofessor.net. So the school year is rapidly coming to a close, and I am looking forward to having a summer off. But with all of the hecticness that accompanies the wrapping up of an entire school year, I have found that I have been sleep deprived and definitely rushing in the mornings. And in turn, I've been relying upon a collection of products to get myself ready in the morning very quickly, and I wanted to share that routine with you in this video. Because I like to push the limits of time in the morning and get as much sleep as humanly possible before heading out the door, I have pared down my morning skincare routine to a few key products that handle moisturizing, priming, and illuminating, as well as SPF, all in a couple of simple steps. First things first, I've been using a combination of 3 serums to address the needs I just mentioned. One is the Le Métier de Beauté Peau Vierge in number 2, which I have discussed extensively in most of my videos, as well as a host of blog posts. It acts as a retinol skincare product, as well as a hydrating moisturizer, an illuminator, and it also has, I think, SPF 20, so you're even getting some sun protection in this single product. Now, I've also been using the By Terry Cellular Rose Brightening CC Lumi Serums, and I've been using these 3 products in triune, meaning I take a small pump of this, and it's really easy to control how you dispense this, combine it with a small pump of the number 1, which is Immaculate Light, and a small pump of the number 4, which is Sunny Flash, a bronzy shade, and I get a mixture of all 3 shades, blend them together very quickly, and put it all over my face, and that's what I have on my face right now. It just evens out the skin tone ever so slightly because these are tinted, well, with the exception of the white, which is more of an illuminator, and it also provides me with a great base, a priming base for the makeup to come, and I love that it also acts as a moisturizer for me in the morning. So on days when I'm running late, which is unfortunately quite frequently, I just rely on a single pump of each of these 3 products to prep my face for foundation. Next up, I add an eye cream, and I've been working with the Amore Pacific Future Response Age Defense Dual Eye Cream. This is a genius little product that has eye cream targeted for daytime needs, as well as one next to it targeted for nighttime needs. And I'll be doing a more extensive review on this soon, but I did want to preemptively mention that I've been using this day and night for the last couple of weeks now, and I'm really impressed with it. Certainly it needs at least 4 to 6 weeks of trial, but I will say that I love the way that it lies on my skin. It absorbs instantly. The daytime version provides a little brightness to the eye. I do think it has some light reflective properties going on inside of it. And here it is, just a tiny bit on my finger there so you can see it's kind of a milky, almost pink tinged shade, but it does blend into the skin and disappear completely. It's not greasy. It has a very soft fragrance that dissipates almost immediately, and I am also appreciative of the fact that it has SPF protection. It's SPF 25 actually, to be exact, and that's great to know you're protecting your eyes with an additional SPF barrier. The night cream does tonally look different. It's more of an ivory white, and so it doesn't have the light reflecting properties because you're sleeping, but it's equally emollient. I would say it actually feels texturally a little heavier, but in a good way, because I feel like you're getting more nourishment while you sleep. All in all, a really interesting product, 2 eye creams in one, if you will, and I'll be talking more about this later. Once I have put on my trio of serums as well as a dab of eye cream across the orbital area, I have been using the Skindinavia Makeup Primer Spray. The Skindinavia sprays are well loved in the beauty community, and I was eager to give this particular priming spray a try. It's supposed to make your makeup stay in place longer, prevent your makeup from creasing, from migrating, from sweating off. And we have had a couple of heat waves in the last couple of weeks in California, in Southern California, so this has been invaluable to try out with extreme weather conditions. What you're supposed to do is just spray it in an X formation across your face. It's a nice mist. I usually do a third for good measure, and just let it set in. Very subtle scent, goes away completely, and this doesn't feel greasy or uncomfortable on the skin. In fact, it feels like nothing, but I have noticed that my makeup has definitely had longevity, even in some excruciatingly warm weather conditions. So more on this later, but this has been a part of my very quick morning routine. I would like to mention that on days when I know I'm going to be in the sun, for example, last weekend I was at the Renaissance Fair with my family, so very warm, very sunny, outdoors all day. I did use the products I've just mentioned, and then I followed it with an extra defense of sun protection. This is the Gold Fade Sun Visor Ultralight Oil-Free SPF 30 Mist, and it can be applied before makeup as well as after makeup. Because it's a spray, it just gives very light, seamless protection. You don't have to rub it in and then move or disrupt whatever makeup you may have if you're putting it on after the fact. I like misting it on before. The Gold Fade line is an organic one. It's really diligent on including very quality ingredients that are compatible with even the most sensitive of skins. And I like the fact that it's a titanium dioxide sunscreen, a natural sunscreen, which is really hard to find. Most of the time it's chemical, and I am looking forward to experimenting with this more as the summer days are ahead. All right, on to the makeup itself. I have been using a lot of the Clé de Peau cream foundation. It's got SPF 29. I guess you can't get enough sun protection. That's been my mantra lately. And yet it doesn't create flashback in photos, at least in my experience. So it's a foundation with sunscreen that is not trepidatious. I love that element. I have a full review of this Clé de Peau formula with swatches of every shade available on my blog. I'll put a link to that in the details box. But this has been the formula I'm using lately a lot. It comes in a squeeze tube. I actually have a second one on backup because I've been relying upon it so heavily. I like the fact that it can be easily tossed into your makeup bag for touch-ups during long days, and it does not pose any risk of escaping. So I just put some on my hand here, and really quickly, I often get questions about jewelry, so I'll address what I can. This is a Lauren Stewart Itsy bracelet right here, little gold bar with a small diamond. It was a gift from my husband, and I love the Lauren Stewart line. It's available at Barney's, and I'll put a link into that. Here's a vintage Cartier Love bracelet, and that is, we tracked it down at an antique store. And then this is a Georgiana cross cuff. I'm really loving this brand. It's sterling silver dipped in 18 karat gold. And I love how delicate it is and how seamlessly it blends with the other two non-negotiables on my wrist. Finally, this is a hair tie from Bands, which I'll be reviewing on my blog later on this month. These are a beautiful take on hair ties. I love this one because it's this unique shade of green, as well as the fact that it has this already in place bow, which makes for a really interesting look on your hair. I'll try to insert a picture of a braid with the bow tie in. But I like the fact that you can wear it on your wrist in the meanwhile, as we often do with hair ties, and it actually has kind of a decorative aesthetic appeal. So that's a reference to what's going on there. Onto the foundation. So I'm taking my dampened beauty blender, and I'm just going to go ahead and put the cream foundation all over my face, tapping it in with the beauty blender. I have applied this with my fingers before, and I find that you get decent application, but nothing's quite like the beauty blender when it comes to getting seamless skin-like application. The cream foundation is medium coverage. It can be built to full if you need it, and I just tend to opt for the medium, but go over any areas that might be darker or need more color correction with my beauty blender rather than doing 2 full layers all over the face. And I'll go ahead and just tap it in across here. I have some freckles, compliments of the sun. Truly, this is how quickly I do it in the morning. I'm like lightning fast. I can get this whole face done when I'm not talking in, gosh, 5.5 minutes. Foundation is done. Thankfully, my skin has been behaving. I've been very diligent about skincare, especially in the evening when I have more time to be deliberate, and I'll give an updated skincare routine day and night very soon. But because of that, I don't really need a lot of concealer. If I do have an errant blemish, I just use this already preloaded, it's actually a lip brush from Sephora, but I preload it with the Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage in SC3. This has been my shade for decades. This is not, I warn you now, a beautiful looking compact because it looks like this, but that shows you how well loved it is. I use one probably each year, and I've got a backup ready to go. I'm almost done with using this one. It's got 2 shades, and I just use a little bit of each. I preload this brush because otherwise it stays safely in my bag, and if I need to touch anything up with a heavy duty concealer like this, I can quickly. I'm going to go ahead and just go over any areas I might want to correct very quickly for the sake of demonstration. And there you go. I highly recommend this concealer. It's a lifetime favorite, and this is a great way to always have it with you without having to carry around the entire compact. On to contour slash bronze. I've been using a single product to fulfill both objectives lately, and that is the Chanel Cream Blush in Cheeky, which was a newer shade released in the last couple of months. Cheeky is, in my opinion, very similar to Destiny. I'll show you a side by side in a minute. It's actually quite hard to discern the difference, but I bought Cheeky because it was new, and it does appear just slightly more brown as opposed to a warm rose like Destiny. I'm using the Expert Face Brush from Real Techniques. It was given to me as a gift, and I love it because it's great for contour. I'm just going to go ahead and suck my cheeks in and apply Cheeky. You can see it's not a pure brown like the Tom Ford shade in Illuminate. If you want just an authentic contour color, that's the way to go. I love it. But this gives also that bronzing effect because it does have some warmth to it. I'm just buffing it into my skin, and this brush does a good job of depositing color without disrupting the whole effect of whatever foundation you might be wearing. I'm running it across my lower jaw area to add some depth and some separation, a little bit on the sides of my nose. I'm not precise when it comes to that, strictly because I typically don't have the time to be when I'm getting ready in the morning. A little bit across this outer perimeter of my face. And then I'm actually taking it up a little bit to give a bronzing effect. So you can see you have the contour, but you also have the bronzing effect. Now, as promised, here's a side-by-side of Cheeky and last year's release Destiny on this side. Cheeky is just a little more brown, while Destiny has a little more reddish undertone to it. And I'll try to do a very careful image swatch on my blog in the coming day. Now for the brows, I keep mine as natural as possible. I'm working with the Anastasia Dip Brow in dark brown, and also the Anastasia brush number 15 for application. I just put the tiniest, most minuscule amount on the brush, and then I'm just brushing into my brows to define them, give them a little bit more shape. Otherwise, I prefer to keep them as natural as I can. I just find that the dip brow gives it a more groomed look, and it's amazing what just the tiniest bit of attention to one's brows can do to the overall look of your face. That's all I'll do with brows right now. And the dip brow is waterproof, it's impervious to harsh weather conditions, and for that reason I love just putting it on quickly in the morning. Alright, now that base and contour and brows are done, I'm going to move on to my eyes, and then I'll follow with the blush that I choose to put on at the end. So lately with eyes in the morning, very quickly, I have been relying on a single wash of color followed by a liquid liner line across my upper lash line. I find that the wash of color is very time effective, and the liquid line makes it look like you spent more time on your eyes than you actually did. It's a very powerful finishing touch. The wash of color that I've been relying upon is produced by the Letter Me Waterproof Eye Crayon. I've mentioned this on my blog one time, I think in a Look of the Day post, and I'll link to that in the details box. Letter Me is produced by the Korean beauty brand Parapeya. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's something that in the United States can be purchased online through Urban Outfitters. This is the shade Curiosity, and it is a brown bronze, kind of a satin finish. In a lot of ways it reminds me of the By Terry Bronze Moon number 4, my all-time favorite eyeshadow product. Definitely the one I would take to an island. But this has a little bit more brown opacity, a little bit less reflective effect, though there is still a satin finish. So if I'm in a hurry and I just want one color, I've been grabbing for this. It is incredibly affordable. I think it's easily under $20, and it does have this smudging side on the other side. I haven't really imbibed in this quite yet. Usually this is how I apply this. It's kind of a wide tip, so it's prohibitive of being really precise, which means that I do go in with a brush after applying from the crayon to kind of clean things up. So I just close my eyes, and without primer or anything, I'm just going to rub this all over, not being too worried about the disaster that is this right now before the brush does its magic. I'm putting a little more along the lower lash line. Right now that just looks like a mess, but I assure you, once you allow a brush to clean things up, it looks a lot more deliberate. You can just see the color is lovely. I suspect this would flatter most people's coloring and eye shade, eye shape even. It's just a gorgeous formula. I'm really happy to have discovered it. A friend gave this to me as a gift and I'm loving it. Now I'm going to go in with my Haku Hodo brush, and I'll try to put the exact number of this brush in the details box, but I did pick it up at IMATS earlier this year, and it's a tapered, rounded brush that is great for blending out shadow in a hurry. It's usually in my makeup bag, which is why I grab for it often. I'm going to take the brush and just kind of blend everything here. I've actually been enjoying blending out almost to the brow bone here, and just letting that color fully saturate the eye. Because it's a soft brown, you can actually get away with that without looking too dramatic for work. And I'm just blending. So this eye is already cleaning up nicely. I'm moving to this eye, and I'm going to go in with a lighter shadow that will mitigate some of this darkness that's way up here. Now I'm working with the Kevyn Aucoin number 202 eyeshadow duo. It's Vellum Shimmer and Shimmering Wheat. I've talked about it before. I'm taking the Jenny Patikin Kitten Paw multi brush, and it's this flat kind of paddle brush that applies a shimmery shade like this with ease. I'm just taking it and moving across the lower brow bone area and just kind of blending this shade, the wheat shade, in with the other. I'm actually going to put a little more on the tip of the brush and bring it underneath just to lighten this up a little bit and give it a little more radiance. Same thing on the other side. A little more under here. Now when I'm having a good morning, I'm doing this in front of the mirror in my bathroom. When I'm having a less than preferable morning, I might be doing this at a signal. Never while operating a motor vehicle, never while in motion, but yes, maybe at a signal. Finally, I'll take a little bit of this intense white and I'm going to put it on the inside corners of my eyes here. Just blend in. It just adds an unexpected kind of brightness to the eye. I recommend using extreme restraint with this white color because it is very concentrated for a bright white and you don't want to come out looking, you know, shimmery, sparkly. I might also take the flat side of this brush, dip into both shades, tap a little bit of the excess off, and then rub along my cheekbone area for an impromptu highlighter across the cheekbone area. It's just lovely. Bring it down the nose, anywhere where you would normally add a little bit of highlighter, and voila. This serves many purposes. Now my eyes are almost done. I'm missing a little bit of the black liner, and I'll show you how I like to apply that. But before I get to that, I'm going to go ahead and put some concealer in my under eye region. That's going to be useful, one, just as a step that I usually include in my routine, and two, because if any of the black errantly gets put someplace where I don't want it, when I blend in this concealer, I will be able to also remove the unwanted blackness from the liner. I'm using the By Terry Touche Velouté in number 2, which is great for light medium skin tones with neutral to yellow undertones. This is her original premier winning product in terms of being a light yet ultra covering concealer. It comes in a pen applicator, but it is rather girthy. It's wider than the normal like YSL Touche Eclat or even the Touch Expert by Terry, which is smaller as well. But I like this for two reasons. One, it's a great concealer. I'm just going to tap it along here. It's like liquid light without any shimmer. I don't know how that's possible, but it has a velvety finish that looks very natural on the skin. I'm just tapping it in. I might even use a little bit as a highlighter in areas where I want to highlight and kind of complement what I've already done. But it also works to cover any imperfections you may have that you see, and you want to just mitigate those without going over it with something harsh or too opaque. While that stays like that, and I'm sorry for the madness that is this situation, I'm going to go ahead and add the black part of my eye. This is the Marc Jacobs Highliner Gel Eyeliner in Blacker, which is the best black in my opinion for the lower waterline. I'm just going to take it and put it in the waterline area. It glides on, it stays put, and it just adds a nice pop to your eye. Now I'm taking the Serum Beauty Autographique eyeliner. I've talked about this before. It's actually a brush. It's not a felt tip, even though it looks like a felt tip. It's a brush, and it just dispenses the liner, the liquid liner, just so effortlessly. No dragging, no pulling. A beautiful black. I'm going to run it along my upper lash line, but it's not going to be a full-blown cat eye because that takes time, and I usually in the mornings do not have that kind of time to really get it right. You know the drill. You put it on, the tail is a miss, you try to put more, before you know it, it's like Cleopatra on one eye and still small on the other. It's a nightmare. So I'm going to be very conservative with how I use this. It'll just add some depth to my eye. And sweeping it along. It applies nicely over shadow without dragging. Alright, and that's the general effect. And my very conservative cat eye is finished. It took me about 15 seconds to do it properly in front of the mirror. I might just go over it once and a little bit more on either side, and then I let it dry before opening my eyes, but once it does set, it does not budge. It's a beautiful liquid liner formula, perhaps the best on the market. I love it, and I also adore the fact that it is refillable, meaning that when you finally run through a cartridge, and I believe a single cartridge is supposed to last for 1,000 applications, and I'm nowhere near getting to that level yet. But once it does, then you can buy another cartridge. Before I move on to mascara, I'm going to go ahead and blend in this concealer before it completely dries up. Using the Jenny Patikin multi-blending brush. It's the smaller version. I've talked about it in blog posts and videos. Beautiful brush for concealer. It just makes concealer meld to a second skin with your face. And so I'm just going to take it and just tap it, almost like a stippling motion, tap it into the under eye area where I originally applied it a couple minutes ago. Just brushing it out, making sure that it becomes seamless. And so you can see it's a nice brightened under eye area, and any unwanted dark marks have been swept away as I go through this process. Finished eye sans mascara, which I'm going to put on right now. I'm using the Serum Beauty Releve mascara. Tiny wand allows you to get to the base of your lashes very comfortably. I'll just go ahead and sweep through. It does have some fibers to add length and volume to the eyes, but once the fibers have been deposited and the mascara dries, it stays there. And the last step before lip color, which is invariably applied in my car right before I get out to go run to teach, is blush. Now I'm working today with the Chanel Les Beiges Healthy Glow Multicolor in number 1. I was completely struck by these 3 shades working together. I like a pale bronzed, very light peachy cheek because my chemistry tends to turn everything darker. So I need to start light. This is a brand new release for summer. This shade right here is a beautiful, very pale coral peach pink. Then you've got a soft, almost tan, more of a beige, and then this light ivory highlighter. I just mix the 3. I'm using the Jenny Patikin cheek brush here, and I smile, and I'm going to go ahead and put it along the apples of my cheeks. The Les Beiges effect is so subtle, and that's what it's created for, so it does the job well. I get a little bit of rosiness, but nothing overt, and it just finishes the face so nicely, swirling all 3 colors together and then applying. It's like you cannot over apply this. At the same time, it does look like something on the face. So this is a winning product for me. I think anyone in the light to maybe light medium skin tone range can get away with using this and having it show up. Certainly fair skin tones this is also compatible with, but a darker skin tone would probably want to opt for the number 2 shade, which is bronzier. It doesn't have this homage to coral, but it does probably have a better chance of showing up on the face. And this face is essentially finished. I'll come back with some lips. Alright, for lips today, I'm going to use two products. The Dior Fluid Stick in Kiss Me, which is number 389. I've profiled it on my blog before. Love this color. It's a beautiful, cool-toned, milky light pink that still offers significant pigmentation. I'm just going to put it over my moisturized lips. It's got a light feel that still has pigmentation. People like to compare these to the Glossy Stains by YSL, but I find that this is so much more hydrating. Glossy Stains tend to dry my lips out. Albeit they are pretty, they're not the greatest texture for my particular lips. I love this. I feel this is a superior formula. And then I'm going to top this pink with some Tom Ford Ultra Gloss in Naked, my favorite shade, just featured in the last video I did, just for some beige brilliance. Lips are finished. Two products, no lip liner needed, no blotting, no lip brush, just directly from the products themselves. And this is the final look. As I mentioned before, I assure you, when I'm in a rush in the morning, it truly does take me about 5.5 to 6 minutes. Doing it in front of a camera with a host of verbiage and dialogue definitely slows me down. I did want you to see the process, and I hope you found it interesting and entertaining. I welcome your questions and comments on this tutorial, and I would love to hear what products, if any, that I've included in this video you may have had experience with. As always, please do not forget to visit me at my beauty blog, Beauty Professor, which can be found at www.beautyprofessor.net. Take care.